I thought the script was incredibly well written and really taut suspense, interesting play on the hierarchy of knowledge and when we learn the things that we learn. And I think was very unique about it was that it was so much in one character's point of view. And while we don't employ any, hopefully, specific POV shots, we still feel everything that the main character is feeling. And that's something that, I happen to be recently much more inspired by video games, by modern video game than movies. And it's something that's unique to that genre, to that media, is that everything is designed to make the player, the experiencer, feel what the protagonist is feeling. And this movie was a unique challenge for that because we are with one character throughout the whole thing. We never get to see what another character sees without her perspective. And I really wanted people to feel what she is feeling. This is something that I've been excited about for a very long time. I was the kid on my block making movies with my action figures and my best friends, and have often dreamed about one day making a major motion picture. And this has been that dream fulfilled, and it's been very fun. It's much more fun than I thought. I think it's equally exactly like making movies in the backyard with your friends, and also nothing like that, and incredibly challenging and exciting. And the crew has been incredible. Everyone is as good-natured as they are talented, so the making of the movie has been a really pleasurable experience. The movie opens with Michelle, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, gets into a car accident and wakes up in this underground facility of sorts and meets Howard, played by John Goodman, who explains to her that while she was passed out, the world as she knew it is not quite the same, and she can't leave for years, but she should be thankful because he saved her life. And we are not sure what to think of that, and things spiral out of control from there. He is someone who knows Howard, but perhaps isn't quite sure about things that happen with Howard later on in the story. It is a thrill ride in terms of, frankly, the thing that I love most about it is that if I was in the 30s, I would describe this as a suspense picture. You know what I mean? It's very Hitchcockian, and there's a lot of there's moments of physical, visceral suspense sequences, but there's also a lot of that psychological thriller stuff. The thing that was very important for us in looking at who to cast for Howard is that we didn't want him to feel mustache twirly. We really loved the idea of him being quite convincing and someone who at first we might not trust and at first we might think is crazy, but as the story progresses we might think, maybe he's got a point, maybe we are the crazy ones. And John Goodman does that so well. He is so convincing and can say things with such conviction to make you believe what he's saying, and then and the turn of a switch is terrifying, and you have no idea what he is thinking, but you want so desperately to know what he's thinking. He has a lot of non-verbal mannerisms that are so interesting and complicated when you want to try and dissect what does that mean. And the other part of the equation is overall we wanted the movie to it's very dour subject matter, but I didn't feel like that meant that it could only be super serious. It felt like there should be some levity, and it was really exciting to have John Goodman playing Howard because he brought a bit of levity to what is otherwise could be considered a very intense role. With Michelle, the interesting thing about that role in this movie is that it's a largely nonverbal role. And the wonderful thing about Mary is every time she's thinking and wondering and curious about anything or frightened or what have you, we are always in sync with what she's experiencing. I can watch her think and feel like she's thinking what I'm thinking, you know? She's very real, she's very grounded. She's going through real people stuff, not movie stuff, you know? And just watching her go through an experience is incredibly compelling. And even in those small moments where we get to see where she came from, where she's going, and those moments of dialogue between her and Emmett, there's a lot of personality that comes through just in those tiny slivers, so we really feel how well-rounded she is going into this terrifying experience. Emmett, I felt, would really bring a lot of levity to the very serious movie, and I thought John Gallagher Jr., I've been a fan of his for years. I loved him. I love him on Newsroom, and I loved him in Short Term 12. And he also is very, very grounded. You know, makes sequences that could otherwise be very heightened feel very human. And he's very natural, and also is just very funny. And what wasn't necessarily funny on the page, now that we're shooting with him, is hilarious. It's cool to come to a set every day and to have to cook up new ways of covering areas that we've looked at quite a bit. But it's also, you know, I'm more overwhelmed by endless possibility. It's harder to make choices that way, but when you are confined to a box, it's more exciting because that confinement breeds creativity. And having to come up with ways of designing sequences when we're stuck inside this little place is actually quite fun. I watched all the shows, and we went and met with one of the guys who provides all of those bunkers. Was a very interesting fellow, and saw all the structures. I mean, the thing that we learned quite quickly is that we weren't going to be 100% true to the prepper culture, and a lot of what the actual bunkers are not the most cinematic, but more importantly, they weren't really true to our character. So this was a very interesting, quirky guy who designed this place as a home for he and his family to live. This is a wish fulfillment for him. He wants to be down here. It isn't just a backup plan, and it isn't a place to just survive and wait something out. He wants to, you know, contain those he loves within here and all have a wonderful time.